You are listening to the Bell Ringers podcast on Philly Sports Reports, brought to you by SeatGeek. Here are your hosts, Colin Daly and Benjamin Goldstein.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Bell Ringers podcast. Colin Daly here alongside Benjamin Goldstein. And it has been a minute since we've had a podcast. Unfortunately, fortunately, I don't know where we are with that. Hasn't been a very eventful last 2 months, Ben, for the Phillies.
Yeah,
They
a
may,
lot.
yeah,
There hasn't been much going on. Free agency, not much happening. Yeah, our last pod this is our first, let's see, December 24th, 2024 was the last time we uploaded a pod. So right before Christmas Eve was the
yeah.
last. So this is our first pod of 2025, and we're, almost in March. So, a
Well,
lot of, we're high school students, so a lot of things going on. Also, not much to talk about with the
yeah, I was
Phillies.
gonna say, talk about a lot going on. There wasn't a lot going on with John Middleton and Dave Dombrowski and Sam Fold. Um, They made a lot of their moves prior to the new year, and I think they've spent just the last few weeks here just coming up with a plan for 2025, figuring out how competitive they want this team to be, prepping the guys for spring training, getting the facility up and running. Now we are just a day away from our first game of the 2025 MLB season. Phillies, at least, because I know yesterday the Cubs and Dodgers were playing. Are they in Florida?
Cubs,
I
not
think they're
Arizona. I think the first
Okay.
first Grapefruit League game is. I mean, I believe it's already started. We're recording this in the afternoon, so
Yeah,
I think it's Yankees somebody, but
yeah. But it's an exciting time, and I don't know what we're going to see this spring training. Actually, Ben and I were just talking Phils, shocker, before this pod started, and this isn't going to be a super competitive spring training for the Phillies because we know who our starters are going to be in the rotation. Though we'll talk about that a little later. Um, for the most part, we know the lineup. I mean, we at least know the positions and who's going to be occupying where on the field. And we have a pretty good idea of who's going to be on the bench, minus maybe JT, not JT, who? JT Realmuto won't be on the bench. Garrett Stubbs, however, will be competing for that bench spot with Rafael Marchand. I know Marchand has had some injury scares in the past. Stubbs also struggled immensely in 2024. Um, but I honestly think the thing that people are going to end up watching the most is probably going to be the bullpen, right? There's some new names in there. Uh, you've got Joe Ross, you've got Jordan Romano, still haven't figured that out yet. I've
I think
always
it's
said
I
Romano.
think it's Romano.
Yeah,
Like in Canada, they say Romano, but in America, it's been Romano.
right.
I feel like Philadelphia accent, you say Romano. I think it's Romano, but a Philadelphia accent is like Romano. So
Well,
I'm not
yeah, because I always thought he was Romano up until he made. Well, I always thought that last name was Romano. Then when he debuted, like the mid 2010s, I remember watching a game he was in, and I was like Romano. I'm like, who says that?
because
Sounds like a lettuce.
he's
But
Canadian. So it's like
well, yeah, it's those Canada people, man. I've got my. See, Ben and I haven't talked a while. I have Canada-based conspiracy theories I've been throwing around recently, but we can't get into that on the podcast. That's the quickest way for me to get canceled. I mean, Justin Trudeau and all his people will be up my rear end, but we don't want that.
yeah,
Um, anyway, I lost my train of thought now. I think we were talking the bullpen. That's right. There's new faces in the bullpen, our Canadian friend Jordan included. So I think that's going to be where we're going to see the most competition during this year's spring training, figuring out really how they're all going to align back there because the Phillies lost a lot of their back end relievers, Jeff Hoffman, Carlos Estevez. So we're going to need to see who steps up and fills those roles. We definitely have some names in mind, like Matt Strom, Jose Alvarado, Orion Kerkering, but those slots are open. And I don't think that any of those three guys have shown that they're a lock for that spot except maybe Strom. He could be your one exception. But Kerkering is young. I don't think he is going to be pigeonholed into any one role this season. I think it's going to be dependent on his performance. Alvarado was kind of a loose cannon last year. Strom is probably the front runner at this moment. But again, I think that could change pretty quickly depending on what the Phillies see in spring training. I would like to see some of the younger guys get an opportunity. Maybe Griff McGarry, depending on how he looks, could get a, I'd say for now, short term opportunity come the very end of March when roster decisions are being made. But grand scheme of things, Ben, I don't know how much there's going to be to look at in Clearwater.
No, I think, you're not also Andrew Painter isn't going to be pitching in any games, so you don't get to see any Andrew Painter. You watch him, Aiden Miller, he's a potential call up this season. We'll see
Yeah,
if it happens, if something happens later this year and, someone's not
trade
performing.
deadline.
Yeah, if someone's not performing, you could maybe see Aiden Miller come up and get some time. We'll see. I don't think, there's no starting pitching real other than, I mean, I guess you could say, Taiwan Walker, he's fighting for a major league spot. If you have been listening to this podcast for the last season, 2 seasons, I think it's pretty safe to say we are done. Colin and I are both done with Taiwan Walker. But other than, that, there's a little bit of a bullpen thing. There's not much this spring. It's good to hear Tom McCarthy again and John Kruk, but other than that, not many big storylines.
Who is calling the games with Kruk or with McCarthy down there? Is Kruk going to be there?
I don't know if
Well,
Kruk always.
He lives there, right?
Yeah, he lives down in Florida. I'm not sure. I don't remember if he does the spring training games. I feel like his fuse is too short for spring training. After the first 3 innings, you kind of don't know anybody. But maybe Ben Davis. I don't know if Rube's down there. But
It was him last year, Davis.
all right, then it'll probably be Ben Davis. But
if I remember correctly. But I also probably don't. That's very likely as well.
yeah, I don't remember.
So.
But I mean, the biggest story for me this spring training is, it's not on the field, but will Kyle Schwarber and J.T. Realmuto get extensions? They are going into the last year of their deals. Schwarber, his 4th year on his contract, which is crazy. JT, his 5th year, or his 5th after his extension. So I think he had a 5-year extension. He signed in 2020. He signed the 5-year extension, extending him now until now. So, I don't know exactly what to deal with. Schwarber I could see happening before the season. JT, I don't see him getting anything before the season.
Yeah.
Both, though, have mutual interest in staying Philadelphia Phillies.
I think that starting with Schwarber, I agree with what you just said. I think Schwarber has a chance of getting that extension now. We haven't really seen his production to go down. If anything, it's gone up over the last 2 seasons, especially compared to some of his beginning years in Philadelphia, really the first 2, where he struggled to hit over 200. But it's also going to depend a lot on the people around him, especially with Realmuto. You've got Jordan Disson, Caleb Ricketts, Rafael Marchand, a lot of very capable minor league catchers at various levels throughout the Phil's farm system. So depending on their performance, they may be more or less inclined to offer that extension to Realmuto, especially as he is, not getting any younger. We saw last year there were some points in the season where he was a little bit more injury prone than you may like. His offensive production struggled. His defensive numbers haven't always been great outside of the caught stealing. He's a very smart catcher, but his framing, his blocking with pass balls, not always, all-star level. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with Realmuto. I think Schwarber gets an extension. I'm not sure about Realmuto.
Yeah, I think, I'm going to look at Schwarber from 22 to 24 with the Phillies. He is going into his age 32 season, I believe. He is he's a slash line of 221, 344, 488 with an OPS of 832. And 131 homers, 302 RBIs, 318 walks
If
as a
you had to
Philly over the
off
last few years.
money aside, if you had to offer Schwarber a number of years on his contract right now, how many are you extending him for?
3.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Through his 35-year-old season.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like, that's probably it. Like, I think Schwarber at this point is signing a deal for the rest of his career. He's going to be 35 years old with a 3-year deal. He is 32. I think he's 32. I'll look exactly. He is, let's see, little shut. Oh man, I can't find it. Oh, he's 30. He's 32 in like 10 days. So it's coming
Going
March
into,
5th.
like you said, going into his
Yeah,
32-year-old
he's
season.
March 5th is his birthday. Happy almost birthday, Kyle Schwarber. So I could see a 3-year deal going to age 35 season. That'd be his last season, and it'd be in Philadelphia. I could see him like not taking a ton of money too. Like he signed what was it, a 4-year, $90 million deal in
I think 80.
2022? 80 million, yeah, it's something around there. So like I could see 3 years. I don't know, 30 million or something. I don't know, but
Oh, he wouldn't go for that.
yeah, I don't know.
For
3
3 years,
years,
I'd say he gets at least 65 million.
yeah.
So
I don't know where the 30 million came from, but somewhere in the ballpark from
maybe 30 million a year.
60 to 70 million a year for 3 years for Kyle Schwarber. And that
Yeah.
be, then he also gets more money because of like his clubhouse presence. And
Right. And if with the number you just put out there, that would be about on pace for what his um, average annual value is right now, which is just
yeah.
about, I think it's just under 20 million.
Meanwhile,
So
JT Realmuto, 2019 to 2024, he is older than Kyle Schwarber. JT is
C 33.
33. His birthday
Yeah.
is on March 18th, so he is going into his age 34 season.
No.
His slash line 266, 331, 463, OPS of 793. Let's see here. He has 109 homers, 382 RBI.
No, I wouldn't extend him. I think he will get. I think the Phillies will try. The other thing you have to remember is that they've hung on to a lot of guys recently. Trey Turner sticking around, Bryce Harper sticking around. You've got another year of Nick Castellanos after this. You have to start integrating some younger guys into the team, even if they're not getting everyday playing time. And when you really step back and look at it, Bryson Stott isn't young anymore. Alec Boehm isn't young anymore. Oh, did you just give me a thumbs up?
Yeah, they did. They
Oh,
don't.
that's awesome.
I guess they like what you're talking about.
But those two aren't young anymore, right? I think we sometimes forget Nola's getting up there in age. Wheeler's getting up there in age. So like these guys, there has to be some sort of new generation of the team that gets integrated sooner than later. I don't think you can keep extending guys, especially if their production's going down, right? Like Schwarber makes sense. He had a really good year last year. Realmuto, if there's a time to part with him, I think it's after this season. Unless there's
Uh,
some major turn in his production at the plate.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see JT with the Phillies, 2-time All-Star, 2-time Gold Glover, or 2-time Gold Glover, 2-time Silver Slugger. He was 7th in MVP voting in 2022.
Was he really?
He was. What he did?
Huh.
276, 342, 478, 820 OPS. Interesting.
I wouldn't call it MVP numbers, but good for a catcher.
Who was MVP in 2022 in the NL? Paul Goldschmidt. No,
Yeah.
that was yeah.
No, it was 22.
Yeah. I thought it was 21, but that was Bryce.
Yeah.
Schwarber's going up. JT last year, 266, 322, 429, 751 OPS. Let's see if I can. Home runs, he had 14, which is very down from his average. That's the least amount of home runs he's had in a season since outside of the COVID year. He had 17 in 2017 and 11 in 2016, which were his third and fourth seasons in the MLB, and that was right before he kind of kind of pick. 2016, he had 300. He batted 300 in 2016.
Yeah, he was something else in Miami. He was
40
really good.
47 RBIs, only 102 strikeouts, but still, like, and they want to reduce his playing time as well. They want to get him they want to move him from catcher more this season, which
Well,
kind of,
let's segue to that topic. So, what do you think about moving around the positions a little bit?
Well, the two that have came out, Schwarber at first to get Bryce off his feet. Schwarber played some first base for Boston, and it was very funny. I remember he made one play, he made a nice scoop and then tossed it to the pitcher. He fist bump. That was funny. And then J.T. and left. I could see Schwarber at first. He's got the build for first baseman. He's got the talking. But J.T. and left is kind of bizarre.
That better not happen.
It's kind of bizarre. I mean, he'll do whatever needs to be done. But, I mean, has he played any other position but catcher in his career? He's played first base. And, he did that a few
Maybe
times.
an inning or two in the out. I feel like I remember him in the outfield once or twice years ago, but not for more than an inning or two.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of straight. I don't know,
Yeah, this just came out of nowhere too.
You want to have. He's 33 years old, or he's 34. He's going to be 34. You want to have him off his feet catch. He's having these. He had the meniscus injury last year. He's having lower body problems. He's an old catcher. This is what happens. And to get him off his feet, the only way you do that is to make him not catch.
Well, I can tell
Salvador
you right
Perez
now,
is playing first base now, but you're blocked with Bryce Harper, obviously. But if you get Bryce off his feet, he's the DH. Now you need Schwarber in left field, and now you're losing an outfielder.
well, I can tell you that old catchers don't want to go run around in the outfield. I'm a young catcher, and I don't want to go run around in the outfield. We had a kid on our team get hurt last year, and I played. It was a long weekend. We had a tournament, and we had 10 guys because it was the one kid got hurt, and it was one of the local private schools in my area that kids I play with. It was their homecoming. So we had 10 kids, and they had to stick me in right field for 2 out of our 4 games because we have 2 catchers. So I caught 2 games, and usually I just sit the other 2, and they put me in right field. No.
How unfun was that?
No, thank you. Well, I got through a couple good songs. I just sing them to myself out there.
There you go.
That's fun. I'm a big what's the give me the beat boys and free my soul. I wanna get lost. That one, you know what I'm talking about?
I don't, but no more singing before
No.
we get copyright
Yeah,
strikes.
we don't need that. Whatever that song is, I know someone out there knows the name of it, but that's my go-to in the outfield. But yeah, Realmuto doesn't want to get stuck out there. If they want to get him off his feet, they need to get him off his feet. And I'll tell you, I wouldn't DH him either. You need to give him a full off day. It's just like when you aren't playing in the game at all, you have a completely different approach, and you actually can learn and gain things from watching from a player perspective, but not participating in the game. And when you're DHing, it still feels like you're
still
and
playing.
and you are still playing, and it very much feels like you're playing because even when you're not when the rest of your team's in the field, you are still working. You're still doing things to get ready for your next at bat, whether it's watching footage for the pitcher or taking swings in the cage, behind the dugout or under the dugout, whatever. So yeah, Schwarber, I can understand. Stick him at first base. Why not? It does help to play the field when you're DHing, but when you're catching almost every day, the left field, the DH, just give him a day off. I mean, it's not like his offensive production is anything over the moon anymore. So why are we trying to get him in the lineup so badly?
JT in 2023 played 135 games. Last year, just 99 because of his meniscus surgery that he had in the middle of the season that kind of hindered him. But you also have to look at he's playing all these regular season games and he's playing every game in the postseason,
Yeah.
which is just as laboring, if not more laboring, playing late in the year and it's colder and they only played 4 playoff games this year, but deep run in 22 obviously almost went the full distance. 23 went to game 7 in the NLCS. So that definitely takes into consideration as well. So we'll see. I mean, let's say JT goes off out and has a great year. He comes off of that, he has the meniscus surgery last year. It hindered him all season. Now he's back out there. He's getting some days off, and he plays very well. He's 3-4, so I'm looking at a 2-year extension. What money is JT pulling? I don't remember exactly the numbers of his extension from 2020, but what kind of money is JT? Or I guess technically 2021 was the extension for JT, because in 2020 we were chanting "Sign JT" from the fences.
They honestly, Ben, I'm not sure. We haven't seen many big unless I'm missing something obvious. Haven't been many big transactions with catchers recently. Um, I mean, I know Salvi Perez got paid. We talked about that, but he isn't even catching anymore that frequently.
There's no real great catchers in the Adley Rutschman is
Well,
out
these are all young
there.
guys, right? Like
Yeah,
Bailey with San Francisco. Like these guys are good, but they're not
they're
getting
all
paid
very
yet.
they're all very young and they're all very abnormal. Rutschman is a 5-tool player and he's a catcher. You don't see that very often.
Right.
Left-handed hitter as well. Take that in consideration. Or switch
Yeah.
hitter.
So
Switch hitter.
right. Yeah. So there's
So
yeah. It's
different.
just I'm curious. I really am. Maybe. I mean, it's gonna be steep because of it's gonna be steep literally because of what you just said, right? The lack of the lack of I wouldn't even say good catchers, but the lack of experienced catchers right now is gonna make every team want Realmuto because here's the thing. We have this vision of Realmuto from when he came over from Miami, as you mentioned before, being a 300 hitter. And sometimes we get frustrated with I mean, I just did it myself, what we just call his lack of production. But there are 29 teams who would pay a ridiculous amount of money to have JT Realmuto come to their team, bat 250, and hit 15 home runs because of his leadership presence, his ability to throw runners out stealing, and his playoff experience. He just knows the game like so many guys who we've seen retire in the past 5 years, right? Yadier Molina, Buster Posey, Yasmani Grandal, all these guys not active anymore. Real Muto's kind of the last guy who played in that generation and now that's why he's such a hot commodity, or he will be a hot commodity if he hits the market. So
We're
I don't
saying
know.
Schwarber extension before the season.
Yeah,
And JT, we'll see what happens.
I think that's right.
All right. Let's quickly thank our sponsor, the legends over at SeatGeek. Philly baseball season is almost here. We are less than 1 month away from opening day in Japan, and just about a month and
Yeah.
a week, so I guess 5 weeks away from opening day in Washington. Philly's opening day in Washington, D.C. Home opener on Monday this year sucks, but you can get your tickets for not just the MLB, but the NBA, NHL, NFL, MLS, concerts, comedians, everything is on SeatGeek. They make it so easy. All you got to do, click on the link in the description, and you can save some money. If you use code Philly Sports Report at your first checkout, you will save $20 off. Again, Philly Sports Report. What are we doing, Colin?
Hold the S.
To save $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. Thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring the pod. What do we got next?
Let's talk lineups, shall we?
We shall. So I wrote an article this past I don't know, a few days ago, February 19th. What was that, Wednesday? Um,
Sure,
of
sounds good.
my of my ideal starting lineup. Another big story this spring training has been a possible change at the top of the lineup. We've seen Schwarber lead off just about every game since 2022. This is my ideal lineup, and it involves some changes. Should we go in reverse order? I think we should go in
Like
reverse order.
9-1.
That's what they used in the postseason when they announced the lineups. They used to go in reverse order. They would go 9-1. They would announce the starting pitcher and then would go all the way to like Jimmy Rollins. That's what they used to do for their announcers. It
Do
was
it.
very, very strange.
That is very strange.
But
Let's throw it
so
back. Come on.
we're doing 9-1. All right, let's do 9-1. Batting ninth, left fielder Max Kepler. Don't forget we signed Max Kepler. I like him at 9. I like him kind of turning the lineup over, and I'd rather him do it than Brandon Marsh, who I have batting 8th. I think your 8-hole hitter is your worst hitter in the lineup. And that's where I have Marsh. Although Marsh did qualify as a 5, he was a 5-tool player last season. He was above average in batting average, average exit velocity, sprint speed, fielding value, and arm strength. I mean, he's up there with Julio Rodriguez, Ellie De La Cruz, Bobby Witt Jr. is great hitters. So Marsh
That's
at
got to be a mistake.
J.T. Realmuto, I have batting 7th. Bryson Stott, I have batting 6th. I was kind of flip-flopping with Kepler and Stott. Or Marsh, I don't know. Kepler, I kind of liked at 6 as well. But I have Stott at 6. He came out, he had an elbow injury last season. Elbow. He got in May, kind of swung awkward in Miami. Got a weird, so he kind of felt it every time he would whiff, he said. So that could be a reason for his down year last year. Big year for Stott. He needs to have a big year. Hit just 245 last year, 35-point decrease from 2023. 5, I have Nick Castellanos. 4, I have Kyle Schwarber. And that's the big change. I have Schwarber cleanup, and I got a bunch of really good on-base guys in front of him. Alec Boehm, I have batting 3rd, which is a surprise if you have followed my Alec Boehm coverage this offseason. Bryce Harper, I have batting 2nd, and I do have Trey Turner leading off. It is seeming more and more likely every day that Trey Turner will be the leadoff hitter. Who will bat 2 is the question. I like Bryce Harper. Back in the day, Harper always batted 2nd in Washington. It was always the 2-hole hitter, and I love having Harper right after Trey Turner. So that's why I have Harper 2. Boom, great on-base guy at 3 for Kyle Schwarber. And you know what Schwarber can do in the leadoff spot. It reminds me a lot of Trey Turner, speedy on-base guy who can hit for power. Jimmy Rollins at my 1. 2, a guy that can do everything. Jason Worth at 2. Batting 3rd, a guy who can also literally do everything at an elite level. Chase Utley, Alec Boehm. And then 4 is a guy who hits ding-dongs, Ryan Howard, Kyle Schwarber. So that's my lineup. Again, I'll go Turner, Harper, Boehm, Schwarber, Castellanos, Stott, JT, Marsh, and then Kepler.
So I like it. I do. Mine is a little similar. I have a little different approach that I took. I am taking the rebuilding and instilling confidence approach to my lineup. So to translate, we'll go through the same thing. So I also have Max Kepler hitting 9th. Hold on.
He's rethinking.
We'll skip number 8.
Okay.
I have Brandon Marsh batting 7th. I have Alec Boehm batting 6th. Part 1 of reinstilling confidence. JT Realmuto is in the 5-hole. Kyle Schwarber is cleaning up. Bryce Harper is 3. Trey Turner is leading off.
Okay.
In
So
the
what's up?
2-hole is Bryson Stott.
Okay.
In the
So you're
8
going
hole,
3 straight lefties?
I
Stott,
am.
Harper, Schwarber? That's
I
why
am.
I have Boehm. Partially why I have Boehm
I
3.
did.
Because
So
I
I
got,
initially
yeah.
had Boehm in the 2-hole and Stott in the 6-hole. But the thing is, Harper isn't going to. I don't think will make coaches. Let me rephrase. Having Harper nestled between Stott and Schwarber is going to make the coach bring in their best pitcher, not the left-handed pitcher, which could, if it's a righty, could help Stott and Schwarber. So that was the thinking there. Because
Okay.
initially I did think, because I'm a big proponent of spreading out your lefties and righties, because there's nothing more infuriating than seeing them bring in a lefty specialist and blow out 3 lefties in a row. But I think that when you put Harper between them, there's a little asterisk that you can consider.
That was another reason for me having Trey 1, because you're ending with Marsh and Kepler, and then you're going
They're
Schwarber.
2 lefties,
It's
yeah.
3 straight lefties when you're really looking at it. Because you only lead off once a game.
True. Yeah. Don't tell that to Kyle Schwarber, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hate to cut this podcast short, Ben, but unfortunately, I do have to go. But I'll tell you, this is going to be an interesting spring training, because usually we have the things we're watching, but this year it's kind of just to see what happens.
Did you hear what Nick Castellanos said? Like that it's a more freeing way play to like that. So for those who didn't see it, Castellanos this week said Philadelphia is now a freeing place to play because there's no expectations because they didn't do anything and they're being doubted. It's like they're playing with house money. What are you talking about, man? Like, that's just the definition of not getting it. Like, you are expected to go out there. Like he said, if we win, it's like a freak surprise. No, it isn't. You were supposed to win the World Series for the past 4 years, and now it's a freak surprise that we're winning. This is the year to do it. So that made me angry.
Yeah, there's a reason he's in my 8-hole. Did you see, this is unrelated, did you see the Inquirer article? The 9 biggest questions going into the 2025 season. Remember what number 7 was? I didn't read the article, but it was posted on X.
What was it?
It was I don't remember what it was, how it was phrased, but it was about Taijuan Walker. And I'll have to go back and find it, but it was something about, like, oh, I remember, it goes, Taijuan Walker doesn't fit on this team, and it's going to be uncomfortable.
It's got like, what is he like?
Like, how do you have that conversation? Yeah, we'll pay you $18 million, but you can leave if you want. Like, what are you supposed to say? Like, yeah, if you want to stick around the dugout, you're getting $18 million, but if you just want to not be here, that works too. Like, I don't know what you're supposed to do. What do you say to the guy?
Yeah, it's tough. All right, thank you all for watching. Thank you to SeatGeek and listening. Thank you to listening as well.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you. This has been the Bell Ringers podcast on Philly Sports Reports, brought to you by SeatGeek. If you haven't already, please subscribe to Philly Sports Reports wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Follow the podcast on X and PSR on all social media. Also, consider leaving a review. Catch Colin and Benjamin's writing on phillysportsreports.com, along with following both on X. Thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring the show.